Shalom Yasharala, this your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, in pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here article real quick, which was something that I kept speaking on, through the spirit, just talking on, certain things, more or less speaking, carnally about a lot of things, especially here in America, about, how these people should be up in arms and or up in, and protest more or less to say, about the things that's going on. But, at the end of the day, it's all according to the Most High's prophecy and His will that's going to happen. We know that all these things are going to take place. But, hey, this is how these things are starting to play out, and I was saying beforehand about how, you Americans should be, not to say actual up in arms, but fed up with your government, man. You should be out in the streets protesting and things like that, man, over the things that's going on and being led into this here conflict with the Ukraine and the blowback that it's having economically. All right, you had a rise of gas prices that was going on, inflation still going on. There's things that's going on behind the scenes that you don't realize that's happening. When it comes to what they call like interest rate hikes and everything else like that, and just certain things that the feds can do to, so-called soften the blow for a time being, but then later on, because things don't necessarily happen instantly. All right, certain things, the things that you see that's going on today didn't actually, it's just like planting a seed. You see a tree grown today, but it wasn't that it was planted yesterday. All right, so things have to take place. All right, and things that's going on now is having effects for you later on in the future. All right, but nevertheless, as far as the how do I say economic slowdown, the global economic slowdown, should have an effect on these people around the globe, in which we've seen, a lot of these other EU nations been standing up and protesting and things like that. But hey, you Americans, you more caught up on the Kardashians right now, the Kanye situation. You're more caught up on these celebrities and everything else like that. You up in arms over these types of things more or less than actual things that have to do with your life, your actual life, and the things that you have going on. All right, you have more of a situation, or more invested into these situations that's going on, in new or in sports and entertainment than you do in the actual things that have to do with your life. All right, this one here says mass protests against NATO and EU hits Paris streets. All right, it says the demonstrations were sparked by what protesters call economic disruption and energy and health restrictions. All right, and so hey, when it comes down to the individual person and their way of life of being hindered, hey, these are the things that should be making people get up and do something about the things, man. When you get moved up out of your comfort zone. So like, when we had the situation that was going on here where, it was impacting your health and everything else like that. And, they were forcing people to do certain things that people wasn't with. And now, as we see nowadays, that's something like how you say, a thing of the past now. Most people aren't really worried about those things that was going on beforehand. You still see some remnant of some people that's dealing with some of these things or walking around with masks on and everything else like that. But then for the most part, hey, people was just going right. There was a point in time where people was scared to shake people's hands. People were scared to walk next to people. People was over here walking around with trash bags on. Nowadays, you look like the olden days, man. You see people, how Jake be dapping each other up, hugging and embracing. And, you seeing folks at the post office and people just, willy-nilly with it again, they forgot all about those things. But then when they was pressuring you to do certain things, hey, man, people was over here fighting to go with the agenda, not realizing that these things was, also impacting your health. And then when they start shutting down things economically, hey, it started impacting you. We still are feeling the effects of those things, but yet and still people was, going with the program. So, and look at how these things started out with the Ukraine situation. The beginning of these things, you kept seeing everybody flying their little blue and yellow flags, talking about support Ukraine, support Ukraine, support Ukraine. But what they were really saying was, hey, how they say they got that term defund the police. It's like saying support you, fund Ukraine, defund America, or fund Ukraine, defund whatever country that you in that's backing these nations or backing this here nation, because that's ultimately what's going on. All right, so let's read this here article. All right, because that's what these people are up in arms about right now, man. All right, these people aren't in France. They not over here getting bombed or anything else like that. Just like you Americans ain't getting bombed right now, man. All right, but the fact of the matter is you feeling the economic blowback of these things, man. All right, and not just France now. Again, going also into the beast hating the whore. All right, you got a lot of these different well, not just the beast hating the whore, but all of America's allies. You got a lot of these different nations that are upset with America right now with the things that they got going on. all over this Ukrainian thing, man. All right. So it says a massive crowd of protesters marched through the center of the French capital on Saturday, demanding that France radically change its stance on NATO and the EU. All right. So hey, they saying, look, no more with this. All right. It says the march was organized by the right wing Les Patriots, or the Patriots Party, led by Florian Philippot, a former deputy head of Marine Le Pen's national rally, dubbed the National Meeting of Resistance. The rally attracted thousands and thousands of people, according to Philippot, who was also a member of the European Parliament between 2014 and 2019. The demonstrators were holding large banners reading "Resistance" and smaller placards that read "Frexit." All right, and we know about that term, the exit. Basically is what they're saying, the exit for France. The Brexit, and so on and so forth. They use that term. They put basically exit at the end of whatever place they're talking about. You had one for Texas, so on and so forth, right? It says a reference to demand that France leave the EU. Many protesters also waving the national flag, all right, and going into these things, man, because the EU is basically the European Union. It's a European bloc of all these European nations that pretty much move economically as one solid nation, all right. But yet and still, hey, right now, guess what's going on? They're all moving as one block, but at the same time, they're all economically falling as one block, and then not to mention that they're also attached with, like we always say, NATO and the EU. All right, they're also attached to, the military branch, because EU is more or less a financial block, right, and the NATO is more or less a military block. All right, so and it predominantly have the same members in them for the most part. Obviously America is a part of NATO and it's not a part of the EU, but so you have some, you have the EU is a part of NATO, but NATO isn't always a part of the EU, for lack of a better terms. But nevertheless, going into these here things, man, hey, they're being drugged down this here into this here pit by way of what? Following the beast. All right. This is according to the video published on published by Philippot on social media. The crowd was chanting, "Let's get out of NATO." All right. And what does that should ring a bell? The beast hating the whore. All right. They also demanded the ouster of French President Emmanuel Macron as they marched near the Parliament building on the footage uh, purports to show. Now, it's funny that I was saying the same thing about the fact of going into these things about how, the beast was hating the whore and everything. But when you deal with Emmanuel Macron, he was one of the EU leaders that was basically saying to the West, or to America, basically, that, hey, we got to be diplomatic with these things. We can't just shut Russia off. We got to somewhat talk to them. You know what I'm saying? We got to kind of, be a little diplomatic. We can't just do all these things. So if anything, out of the majority of these EU leaders, now granted, a lot of them are feeling the same way, but he was one of the ones that was kind of voicing a little bit of this here pushback. So he was not all the way with, the business. We're going to over there, and keep supporting this here Ukrainian thing. Same with Germany, but he was one of the ones that was not all the way with it. Not saying, nah, fuck that. We going 100 mile an hour head forward with America. Whatever they say, we about it. And then the economy, or not the economy, the civilians was just thinking something different. So if he's feeling this way somewhat already, think about if he was 100% with this here thing, what his population would be doing to him right about now. This is how they feel already when he was like saying, look, we got to at least leave a doorway open for negotiations at the table, man. Where United States is back in Ukraine and saying, look, with Zelensky, we ain't negotiating with Russia at all. Russia got to fall. That's just it. Ain't no other way out. The only way this war ends is if Russia no longer exists and we take over Russia. At least France was like, look, we can negotiate something. What I'm saying? We can come to a negotiation and come to a talk or an agreement, because they realize, hey, this is basically a get rich or die trying scheme. Either they have to completely take over Russia. All those Russian people have to forget what didn't happen. They all have to become servants unto them. All right, and they can't. Russia wouldn't dare use a so-called nuke, or wouldn't use a nuke against these so-called nations at all these things have to go right, and the whole world have to forget about these things that didn't happen and just let them steal their country. The whole world would have to just forget about all these things. All that has to go right for basically the U.S. and Ukraine to win in Russia, which we know that it's not going to happen according to the scriptures. Russia's going to ultimately shoot those missiles on America. But this is how far insane these people are. But what, some of these people are starting to wake up now. Again, like I was saying, that it was funny that you know. Well, let me read this paragraph first. It says the protesters denounced NATO's warmongering as well as economic disruption and health and energy restrictions linked to the sanctions the EU imposed on Russia over the conflict in Ukraine. Now, it's funny that the fact of the matter is like, look, you everyday Americans are in the same boat. You know, now it's a little bit more going on over there because they're solely dependent on this Russian energy and natural gas. But you Americans should be in the same boat, bro. Like y'all should be like up in arms over these things. Like, look, man. For instance, I keep saying the fact of the matter. Now they are sending a little bit of aid out here to where we at in Florida, but a little bit of aid. But damn, like the fact of the matter is like, yo, y'all over here sending all this here money and help Ukraine, this, and that. Y'all should be first and foremost trying to help the people here in America, man. You got, what is that, Flint, Michigan, I believe it is, with the dirty water and everything else like that. You got people strung out on drugs all over the place, homeless people, all kind of things going on. People that have lost their homes and just different events and everything. But you're not worried about helping them. You're more worried about sending money and sending aid. Instead of having flags of support people in Florida flags, you know what I'm saying, raised up, people riding around America saying that support Florida, support Michigan, support this state, support that state, support these homeless, support the people in the U.S. You got people rolling around with support Ukraine, but all that's doing is how do I say, deadening your economy. All right, more or less to say, because at the end of the day, man, your tax dollars is paying for this here war over there, man, and you don't get anything to benefit out of these things, man. At least if you can help, you know what I'm saying, your people here in America with your tax dollars, that can turn back around and stir up your economy, man. All right, you start rebuilding some of the businesses that's been torn down. They can help produce and make so on and so forth. But hey, we know again, according to prophecy, this here place is on its last legs. But just the fact of the matter, people somewhat, thinking in common sense. Like I said, more people are more worried about what the hell's going on in sports and entertainment than they are about what's going on with their livelihood right about now, man. All right, but hey, these people over there are protesting over these things. It says French officials have not commented on the rally and provided no official figures on the number of demonstrators. The French media mostly ignored the event as well, according to the website Les Patriots. Similar rallies were also held on September 3rd and 17th, and the unrest comes as France increasingly struggles to cope with the ongoing energy crunch and a major cause in which is the EU's sanctioned policy. So look, their own policies is their own downfall. Their own schemes is their own downfalls. But guess who they're taking this lead from? This lead is being taken from the U.S. All right, they're following the U.S. lead. All right, but what are their civilians? The civilians are smart enough to know what's going on. Like, look, bro, we got to leave NATO. All right, in which think about it. Like, really, the majority of the EU and all of them collectively make up more of NATO than America. Even though America puts in more than NATO, but you just have one United States versus all of them. But they realize that again, like the scriptures say, the whore that rideth upon the beast. America's the one that's controlling NATO, so they got to follow after NATO's lead. And I keep saying this all the time. Look, if France decides to go out to war with somebody else, you know what I'm saying, America and the rest of NATO is not going to go follow on them, man. Now, if it's in America's interest that somebody attacks France, then all of a sudden, oh, that's in America's interest to go over there to try to defend it, to take the resources. But hey, it's a one-sided fight over there, man. And these nations are starting to realize these things, man. These nations, have drunk enough of wine. All right, now they're starting to sober up and see what's going on. Now they're starting to hate the whore right about now, man. All right. It says last month, the head of the French energy regulator CRE warned that private households could face power outages if this winter if there are severe cold spells. Le Pen also warned that the nation should brace for a tough winter. The right-wing politician told BFM TV that the sanctions on Russia were not working and were harming the French people instead. So your own schemes are your own downfall here. And these people are noticing these things, man. These people are starting to see these things as the blowback into their face. All right. But most of you Americans don't even see these things, man. All right. So let's go into some scriptures real quick. But hey, this is all a part of prophecy in the end times. All right. And so, matter of fact, well, let me read this first. It says, Luke 21:25, it says, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth the stress of nations with perplexity, and the seas and the waves roaring, and men's hearts failing them for fear for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Now again, you have distress upon nations with perplexity going on right now, because look, think about it. These nations, right, are so-called saying we have to support these people from this evil man and everything else like that, right? This is the narrative. So as they supporting these people, against the so-called boogeyman, they're actually the ones being affected. But guess what? It's not the boogeyman that's affecting them. All right, it's their own doing against the boogeyman. It's like, look, man, wait a minute. You told us if we got rid of this, this was gonna help us out, but in reality, this is actually hurting us, man. All right, it's just like you know, how you go sometimes to the doctor and the doctor tell you, because it's for their own benefit. They want to benefit off of you, or any type of scheme. It's like, look, you got to get rid of this, and that because they want to get those spare parts up off you, and then you go and give up those spare parts. Now all of a sudden, let's say your car or whatever it is running all backwards and everything. Like now my shit is all fucked up. Like, oh, you got to get rid of this, you got to get rid of that, and before you know it, your shit don't even want to run no more, man. But guess what? They didn't got all your good parts and all your resources and sold all that and telling you got to go find another mechanic. Now you go find another mechanic, and the mechanic tell you, look, bro, you missing these parts here, and those parts there. And then you find out, like, man, the last mechanic told me I didn't need these parts, and these was the problems with the car. The car was running fine, but then now all of a sudden I done got rid of all these here parts that he told me to get rid of. Then you realize, like, well, actually, he told me that you was gonna scheme me up out of these things and everything. Like, I'm not gonna scheme him. No one telling you what's going on. Look, I can fix the car and fix it for you for free. And just to go to show you that he was the one that was scamming you the whole time. And this is what these people are starting to realize, man. They're starting to realize that, hey, man, what the hell are we even getting involved in this here conflict for anyway? What do we benefit? How is this even harming us? There wasn't even a war going on over there until America decided we was going to all start arming them with weapons and everything else like that. Wasn't even a conflict now. All these thousands and thousands of people didn't died. All this infrastructure being blown up. Now the global economy is being destabilized because of trade, economic trade, and energy has been disrupted. All these things happen because America wanted to go over there and everything else like that. For what reason? Why are we even doing this, man? And now these people telling us they have to face a harsh winter and everything else like that, man. These people are like, enough is enough. We've already been drained of our economic, power from the pandemic. Now y'all want us to sit here and be even more economically, at a disadvantage right now, man. To hell with all those things, man. All right, let's go into let me read this real quick before I slip my mind. Second Ezra 16 and 18, it says, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? All right, and guess what? Famines is not just a shortage of food or a lack thereof, but also inflation and things like that, or a lack of your buying power with a lot of things, man. So look, what do you have going on right now? You have people with these energy crises. They also, the energy shortage thing, more or less to say, and the energy crunch is actually taking over the inflation of food prices, man. All right, before all this here started building up with this energy in the wintertime coming up, there was the increase of food prices and everything else like that. People couldn't afford food, people couldn't afford this, and people couldn't afford that. The price of food was going up and up and up and up and up. Which at the end of the day is squeezing the pockets of these people, man. So at the end of the day, man, I ain't got time to be sitting here watching no entertainment and enjoying the football game and enjoying this and enjoying that when I can't even put no goddamn groceries on my plate, man. All right, I can't even go put no gas in my car, man. What the hell am I over here worried about? Watching this and watching that and going out to this here theme park and that theme park when I can't even afford dinner at the house, man. I'd be a fool. Only you Americans can't afford dinner. We're trying to go to damn Disney World. You know what I'm saying? Well, we'll worry about dinner whenever we leave the theme park. You sore as fuck looking. After that, man, we hungry out here. We begging for some food. But then you just come from Disney World. Then you just go do this. Then you had money for that, but you ain't got money for this. What really matter? That's the mindset to these Americans. But hey, look at what the people around the world are doing, man. All right, because of all these things, the wars and everything else like that is taking tolls on people economically. This is now what the people around the globe is starting to wake up to, man. They starting to wake up to the fact it's like this is at a disadvantage for us right now instead of an advantage. So we're not gonna go down this here path no more, man. And if anything, hey man, we want to overthrow our own leaders. And now the leaders are in a position that's like, look, man, what do we do? Do we lose our, I mean, I'm just one person. So I mean, like, what I'm saying, do I sit here and keep going with these things and then my nation sit here and overthrow me? You know what I'm saying? I'm just one person. Now the next person, they gonna just overthrow them if they keep going on with the same thing. We're gonna destabilize our whole entire country if we don't figure something out. Or do we get up out of NATO? Do we break ties with America? Now we have other partners, the so-called enemy, like I said, the boogeyman, all right, the guy who we're supposed to be watching out from, while we listening to this mechanic take all of our parts. There's another mechanic, the one he told us to watch out for, is willing to repair our car for free. You know what I'm saying? Or a way better price with way better parts. Now, what do? We got somebody that can do the job for us. All right. Do we go over here? Do we go over there? So now these leaders over in the EU and things like that are starting to realize, look, we got a plan B. We got people that's willing to work with us. And now look at it. There's more and more people jumping on the side. It's not just one person. It was just Russia over there by themselves, but now more and more people are starting to work with them. Now we starting to see that they're not really the boogeyman, but America's been the boogeyman the whole time, man. All right. Let me grab this real quick. Isaiah 14:16, it says, and they that see thee shall nearly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake the kingdoms, that made the world a wilderness, and that destroyed the cities thereof, and that opened not the house of his prisoners? So, hey, in this here point in time, even your own allies are looking at you like, look, bro, you the one that's disturbing us, and you the one that's doing all these different things. You're the one that's turning everything upside down for us right now, man. These nations are starting to look at, you hear them out there saying, let me grab this real quick before I slip my mind. They're out there. They're out there saying to the point. They're out there saying to the point, hey man, either leave NATO or we're gonna have to get rid of our government, man. We're gonna have to get somebody else up in there right now, man. So you got people marching in the streets that's going into this here situation. All right, let's go ahead and read this. Now we read this a lot of times, speaking on the economic collapse here in America, but right now you have like the scriptures say, let's grab that real quick. Second Ezra 9:3, it says, therefore, let me just read from the top. It says, he answered me and said, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it's the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And this is where we at right now, man. All right, these signs are all coming to pass. All right, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, all right, and that's what you have going on right now. Then thou shalt well understand this, that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Now, again, you have people that's protesting over all kind of different things, man. I remember over in France, they used to have that yellow vest protest, which was an economic situation. Now you got the Ukraine protest that's going on around the globe, and not the support to Ukraine, but the pull out of, or not even to say the Ukraine protest. You can pretty much say the NATO protest, man. People are protesting to get up out of NATO, get up off of that American titty right about now, man. All right, because it's not doing anything beneficial for them, but to get up off of them. Now the world is actually starting to see that, hey, Russia's not the bad guy. Putin is not the bad guy. No matter how much you try to say in your how they say your the PR or your um, your press and your media, no matter how much you try to say in your mainstream media about how bad Putin is the boogeyman, the evidence don't stack up. Y'all done sold this idea that Putin and Russia is the boogeyman. They did all this evil shit, and everybody got on board with your plan. Whatever you said we was gonna do, we're gonna sanction them. We're gonna do all these different things to them. All right, we on board with all that shit. What's the effects of these things? All right, well, the economy is going to go up, or the price of everything is going to go up. The economy is going to go down, gas and food and everything's going to skyrocket and everything else like that. You know what I'm saying? Well, what the hell did Putin do to us? What is he doing to us? Oh, nothing. This is just the cost of doing war over there. These things are just going to happen because we're doing war over there. Oh, we're going to blow up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline to stop Russia from doing these things. But the backlash of that is, energy prices are going to skyrocket over here. And y'all going to have to pay this here money and everything else like that. It's just the cost of doing war over here. Oh, wait a minute. You told us that Russia was the boogeyman, but you telling us also that he didn't actually do anything to us. He ain't actually caused any of these problems onto us, but it's our own doings and the things that we doing to him that's backfiring on us, that's got us in this predicament. How about we just stop doing what we're doing? We wouldn't have these problems because none of this shit was happening beforehand, before y'all went over there, before y'all enacted these sanctions, before y'all started blowing up pipelines. None of this shit was going on. But all the things that y'all over here doing is the effects of all these things. All right. But yet and still, hey, the majority of you Americans is dwelling carelessly. You don't even realize what the hell is going on out here, man. You don't even see that there's a problem out here going on, man. All right, but hey, man, I believe it was we'll see if we can find that. But what was it? I believe it wasn't Lavrov. One of these other guys said, hey, why y'all? It might have been Lavrov, Sergey Lavrov, saying basically, hey, man, why y'all sitting comfortably? Y'all gonna wake up one day and everything around y'all gonna be on fire. But let me grab this and we'll close out. Second Ezra 15, starting verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for their sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. All right, and that's what it's going to ultimately end up in. All right, we talk about this here. A lot of the things going on in America, with economic collapses. That's what happens when you have a total economic collapse. It's pretty much all out war. All right, people just looking to survive and feed their own family. But hey, what do you see the total that's taking place over there in the EU? You keep hearing about how it's gonna be a cold winter for them. They ain't gonna have enough energy and everything else like that to heat their homes. They're gonna have to take cold showers. bundle up even more, maybe eat one meal a day, all because of this here war in Ukraine. So you see that their whole entire economy is collapsing over there first. All right, what do you think? What you see the people over there peacefully protesting for right now, saying, "Look, these are our demands. You better meet our demands, or else." Now, what happens when that or else isn't met? What do you think these people are gonna wind up doing, man? All right, taking up arms. All right, verse 16: For there should be sedition among men and invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor their princes in the course of their actual standing in power. Now you see what they did in January 6th over here. Again, another peaceful protest, relatively. All right. Now, granted, what do you think is gonna happen when again, you got to look what we was facing over here. Some bullshit over some elections over some bullshit ass people, whatever. Versus people ain't got no energy to heat their homes throughout the winter. They might freeze to damn death. They ain't got no food or nothing like that going on over there. And you have all this economic turmoil where, hey man, you bankrupting the whole goddamn country like instantly right now, man. Man, hell no, y'all better pull up out of that or else we going, we about to lose everything, man. We willing to go to war with y'all. We willing to just go over here and set this bitch off, like Boosie would say. All right, and this is what you got going on right about now, man. All right, the people are peacefully demanding that you pull up out of NATO, but hey, soon it's not going to turn. It's going to turn from those peaceful protests to these people all out with swords in the streets, man. Not regarding the kings or the princes running up in there ousting these leaders, man. All right. It says, and the man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Yeah, when there's economic full collapse, energy crises and things like that. People trying to just make it through the winter. All right, it's like, well, we either can heat the house or we can eat dinner for tonight. People be like, fuck it, heat the house and we'll go rob for some food, man. All right, it says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So, hey, pay the energy bill. That shit's sky high, but we ain't gonna afford no food no more. Shit, I got a couple bullets left. Rob down the block, he got some food. We're gonna go and take it from Rob. You know what I'm saying? Go pop off Janet and them. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go and grab the food from Carl and them up the block, and then we're gonna wind up eating for the night, and then we're gonna go get Thomas tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? But hey, as long as we don't freeze to death, the baby don't freeze overnight, we're gonna be good. All right. But hey, these are the things that you have going on, you know, around the globe right now. Man, these people are starting to protest, this whole following after the beast in this here situation. And again, goes to show forth that we weren't just some so-called pro-Russians and everything else like this. At least these people got common sense. Like I said, they were sold a lie about Russia and Putin being such the boogeyman. And then they followed after the leads of what their leaders were saying. Let's just say here, even in America. All right, they said, all right, so look, Russia's the boogeyman, Russia's the bad guy. We got to do X, Y, and Z. All right, people's like, all right, so if we got to sanction him, let's sanction him. If he the bad guy, he the bad guy. If we got to go to war over there with Ukraine, we got to go to war over there with Ukraine. Now, the effects of these things is food going up, gas going up, energy going up, everything else like that is going up. And you have to ask yourself, which one? How does Putin affect us in all? What did Putin do to do all these things to us, man? Did he blow up the pipelines? No, we blew up the pipelines. Did he cause a trade rerouting and everything else? No, we caused all those things. Well, what did he do to us? Well, he didn't do anything. He was just defending himself over there. But this is just the blowback. This is just the price that we have to pay for going to war over here. Well, what do we get out of these things? Nothing. Us elites, we gonna get something out of this. We're gonna be able to sell this here oil and we gonna make money off of this. But y'all just paying the price for all these things. And so now eventually, if you're smart enough or wise enough to realize and wake up to these things, oh, he wasn't the boogeyman the whole time. These people that's leading us is actually the bad guy here, man. Hey man, and this is what causing these people to start to have these uproars of the people around the globe. But I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, that taught us this truth and ever will. And salutation and much love for you. I can push this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.